Okay, so hopefully you've seen the videos that are the base videos from LinkedIn Learning, and you've watched an overview of the animation. I did them for both PowerPoint and Keynote, and it may even be helpful to watch both PowerPoint and Keynote, even though you may be dedicated to working with only one program. So in this video, we're going to talk about doing the voiceover recording, and we're going to do the voiceover recording inside of Keynote. It's a little bit different in some ways than PowerPoint, but there's some things that are quite the same. And just like we mentioned before in the PowerPoint version of this, you're probably going to want to get a hold of some kind of an inexpensive microphone if you do a lot of this. I, however, right now I'm only using the built-in microphone in my laptop, so there's no additional external microphone, even though I have one here that I could hook up. I don't really have it hooked up. I'm just using my laptop's built-in condenser mic. So that's good enough for most people, especially if this is probably the only experience that you want to utilize multimedia with is this course. If you decide to do stuff beyond that, it's probably a good investment to get an inexpensive or even a little bit higher level microphone to build into it. So I'm just going to use the built-in microphone, and we're going to do something quite similar to what we did with the PowerPoint in recording it. So I've got a slideshow put together here, just a real basic thing, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, you guys will have real content, very visually driven. It'll be really good slideshows. So we mentioned in the previous shows about animation overview that at the top, this is sort of a different hierarchical menu. It's a very clean, very simplified format that they utilize for Keynote. And on the left you have format, so you can set the format based upon what's selected. If nothing's selected, it's going to be the background. If you select an object, it'll allow you to add all these different formatting options, and reflection here, or that sort of a thing. Then there's the animate, and there's some built-in animation transitions that I put into this particular presentation just to show you that they don't exclude each other, that you can still do the voiceover if you have these animations built in. And then on the right, you see the document-wide things. And by default, it'll be on document. So you can change things like the background. You can say particular settings that you want to have happen for this particular slideshow, what type of presentation this is. And then over here at the top under this document, right, we have document and we have audio for the hierarchical menu. We have the ability to record the slideshow. And it's going to do the same thing. It's going to record your voiceovers at the same time that you're recording the timing of your slides. So we're going to go ahead and start on one, and we're going to do this. Now when I click on record, it's going to enter a recording mode right here for us to go ahead and begin recording. But I need to further check the levels here and then click on the button to actually start the recording. So I'm going to go ahead and start the recording of the audio by clicking on the little record button down here in the lower left. Gives me a little countdown clock, and it says, boom, we are recording. So I'm going to record the first slide. Slide 1, this is my audio voiceover. I really don't have anything to add, but of course, as we mentioned in the presentations, you guys will be doing the voiceover from a script that you have written for this. It's not a good idea to read off the slides. These are visually driven presentations. You want to integrate the visuals so that we capture the audience correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move past slide 1. I'm going to hit the arrow, and you'll see the arrow also builds in with my slide the transition that I added on there. So I'm in slide 2, and I want to vary the timings just like I did when I did the PowerPoint voiceover. That's one of the cool things about doing it this way, is I can spend 20 seconds on one slide, 3 seconds on the other, and I can pace it the way that I want versus maybe having to do 3 seconds for every single slide in the presentation, which is very, in my mind, kind of awkward and difficult to really work through. So we're going to go now to slide 3. And you can see, by the way, the interface here shows you the next slide that's coming up after it. So I'm going to go ahead and do a very short slide 3. And then we'll go to slide 4 here. and slide 4 ends the show, and we can click on this to stop the recording. Now I can do a playback. I can click play so we can see what it looks like.
We are recording. So I'm going to record the first slide. Slide 1, this is my audio voiceover. I really don't have anything to add, but of course, as we mentioned in the...
I'm not going to subject you to all that. We'll just jump over to where it moves into slide 2.
So I'm in slide 2.
And I'm going to go ahead and stop it. But you can see how in this view we can see how it looks. And I'm going to exit this view. We now have those timings saved with this. It's the same type of a thing. If we want to redo it, we can do that. We can clear out the recordings that have been saved with this and then re-record it. But as it is right now, I kind of like the way it looks. We can go to slide 1 and the same deal. We can see this in a full screen view versus that sort of preview view that we were watching it in. And we can say play recorded slideshow.
And it says, boom, we are recording. So I'm going to record the first slide. Slide 1, this is my audio voiceover. I really don't have anything to add, but of course, as we mentioned.
Okay, so I'm going to escape to hit the escape key so we don't need to go through all 4 slides to see that process. But you can see now how the voiceover, and there's a little blue triangle there, has been saved with these slides as well as the recording. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and save this presentation, and I'll give it a name. It'll be Keynote Voiceover. Okay. And we can also export to, as we will cover in some of the future videos, or videos that have been pre-recorded, I should say. We can export this to a PowerPoint format. I don't recommend, by the way, going back and forth between PowerPoint and Keynote. I think that's you lose a lot of the features that are unique to each of the programs, so I'm going to advise against this. But more often than not, you're going to export this to a movie. That's going to be very, very handy for most people that do presentations. In case something goes wrong with the presentation, you can always go to your YouTube and give the exact same presentation in recorded format. So there's some other stuff here. You can see it can save it to older versions of the Keynote program too. So if you have a friend who has an older version of Keynote on their Mac, you can save it out to that as well. So I just saved it as it is. I can close this and I can open Keynote. Okay, Keynote voiceover here. And everything has been saved with it. So if I go back to any particular slide and hit play, it will play it back with those timed recordings. So quite a simple process, really something I think that is easier than other ways to do it, just as I mentioned for the PowerPoint voiceovers. And it's something that hopefully will not give you too many problems. And if it does, you definitely want to contact instructor in the class and sort of work out some of those issues. I hope this helps you out. If you have any questions at all, as always, please don't hesitate to ask.